Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really digging into someone quite extraordinary. Jeremiah Griffin Harrison. Jerry Harrison.
Yeah.
Born 1949, Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just know him as, the keyboard guy from Talking Heads.
Yeah, that's really just scratching the surface.
You really only know a tiny piece of the story.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the challenge with Harrison, isn't it? His fame, yeah, it comes from Talking Heads, the sound he brought to New Wave. But if you follow his path back through academia, high art,
Right.
and then forward through producing massive hits, even into venture capital, you see, he wasn't just a musician. He was maybe a master synthesizer.
A synthesizer of ideas.
Exactly. Taking completely different things, sounds, visual ideas, even financial structures, and just making them mesh, making them work brilliantly.
Yeah, you look at the genres he was involved in. New wave, Afrobeat, funk, punk rock, art rock.
Mm-hmm.
It screams boundary pusher from day one.
So-
So our mission today is to explore how this guy goes from studying architecture and visual art to being a rock icon, and then just pivots again seamlessly into tech and healthcare entrepreneurship.
It's this roadmap of constant high-level intellectual shifts. And, we should mention his official recognition.
Oh, definitely. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, 2002 as part of Talking Heads. But the real takeaway here, I think, for you listening is finding that common thread. What connects playing in a band obsessed with the Velvet Underground to later founding an online music platform and then investing in biotech? That core skill, it was there early, really early, deep in his background, art, academia.
Okay, let's get into that. The foundations, Milwaukee upbringing. Yeah. You mentioned this potent mix, like half art school, half business.
That's a great way to put it. It really set the stage for his whole career, balancing that aesthetic side with commercial sense.
Yeah.
His mother was key for the art exposure.
Right. She taught art.
She did. Studied and taught at big places, Art Institute of Chicago, Leighton School of Art. So he was just surrounded by visual composition, abstract thinking, really young.
So he's already thinking in terms of structure, space, visuals.
Precisely. Now, contrast that, or maybe complement it, with his father. A musician too, but also a successful advertising executive.
Ah, okay. The practical business side.
Exactly. Structure, strategy, how to communicate effectively, commercially, art and commerce, right there in his childhood home. And you see this blend, this rigor and application in his high school years too. Shorewood High.
Yeah, the list of activities is kind of intense. He wasn't exactly kicking back.
No kidding. Debate club, student council, math club, and basketball and track.
Wow.
It just shows this early ability to juggle a lot, master different fields, high-functioning multitasking, and that intensity definitely carried over to Harvard.
Okay, Harvard, this is where it gets really interesting, especially thinking about where he ended up musically. Magna cum laude, 1972. Degree in Visual and Environmental Studies, VES. Why VES? I mean, that feels pretty abstract for someone heading towards punk rock, doesn't it? How does studying painting and sculpture make you a better musician? Or, way later, a venture capitalist?
That's the question, right? The core of his whole career. If VES isn't your standard degree, it's super interdisciplinary. His thesis wasn't just writing a paper.
It was making stuff.
Yeah, painting, sculpture, drawing. It trained him not just to look at art, but to understand compositional structure, spatial relationships.
Structure and space. Okay.
Now think about that musically. When he joins Talking Heads, he's not just playing a keyboard part, he's synthesizing the whole soundscape. He's taking Burns' angular guitar, Weymouth and France's minimal rhythm, and adding these layers. Keyboards, sure, but also polyrhythms, textures, atmosphere. He's basically applying VES principles, composition structure to sound. It's knowing where to put the color, the synth patch within the space, the beat, to get the most impact.
That completely reframes his role in Talking Heads, especially on albums like Remain in Light. He wasn't just the keyboard player, he was like the sonic architect.
Exactly. Bringing high art academic theory into the pretty grimy world of punk and new wave.
Which, maybe surprisingly, brings us to where his professional music career actually started. The Modern Lovers.
The Modern Lovers, yeah. 1971 to 74. Essential punk rock roots right there. He meets Jonathan Richman in 71, introduced by Danny Fields, the journalist.
Okay.
And it wasn't just a casual, hey, it was like an immediate ideological connection.
And that ideology was specifically the Velvet Underground.
The Velvet Underground. That says so much, doesn't it? Very specific art rock counterculture benchmark.
Definitely.
They bonded over the Velvets. Harrison joins the band early 71, plays on that legendary debut album. And think who produced it.
John Cale.
John Cale himself. Recorded in 72 in California. So Harrison's basically getting his initial training from, like, the high priests of art punk.
And crafting this cornerstone of proto-punk, proto-new wave
Yeah.
years before anyone even heard it, since the album didn't actually come out until 76.
Right.
But that phase ends pretty suddenly over volume levels.
Yeah, a classic case of artistic differences,
Yeah.
right? The band breaks up February 74 because Richmond, the front man, just decides he wants to play his songs way, way quieter.
Okay.
And Harrison, who was all about that loud electric sound they'd pioneered, was apparently just devastated.
And here's that amazing pivot moment we have to talk about.
Yeah.
Most musicians, their seminal band breaks up, they're crushed, they immediately look for another band, right?
You'd think so.
Harrison does the exact opposite. He goes back to Harvard to get a master's degree in architecture.
It's the ultimate proof of his VES training in action, isn't it? The musical structure. The modern lovers collapses, so he defaults back to academic structure. Architecture is literally the physical application of those visual and environmental studies.
Building structures.
Solving structural problems, exactly. His creative structure breaks, so he goes to build literal ones. It's just a fascinating detour, even if it didn't last long.
Didn't last long because, well, New York and New Wave were calling louder than blueprints. Enter Talking Heads, Musician, Part 2. And how he joins this band is almost the perfect link between that high-concept world and the, gritty reality of the NYC scene.
The unintentional audition story, yeah. Talking Heads already had their first single out, Love It Building on Fire, when he joined in 77. But the offer actually came earlier, 76, while he was still deep in his Harvard studies.
And the anecdote is great. Tina Weymouth calls him, invites him to a show in Boston, not knowing he'd already seen them and was totally blown away.
He was already respected, in that underground scene, but actually getting to the band, that was a very practical, very broke kind of problem. He decides to move to New York, September 76, to jam with them.
But no cash for the bus ticket?
Not even for the bus.
So how does the magna cum laude Harvard guy, the aspiring architect, get to the heart of the New York punk scene?
Manual labor. He hitches a ride by helping his old modern lover's pal, Ernie Brooks, move someone's furniture to New York City.
You're kidding. Moving furniture.
Moving furniture. Just picture it. A key figure in New Wave history, hauling a sofa just to get the chance to play with one of the most important bands ever. It just nails that low-budget, high-intellect vibe they had going on.
That tension is pure Talking Heads, isn't it? High concept, low budget. Now, while he's helping shape that nervous, angular sound, he's also starting to produce on the side, right, between tours.
Yeah, he got into producing pretty early, worked with the Escalators, Nona Hendrix, this kind of dual-role performer and sonic architect. It flowed naturally from his VES background, but it definitely caused some friction inside Talking Heads, especially around Remain in Light.
Ah, the 1980 masterpiece and the infamous credit dispute. Reflects how collaborative, maybe chaotic, that album's creation was, particularly with Brian Eno involved.
Totally. It really highlights how tricky it is to pin down contributions in that kind of environment. The sources say there was a big disagreement about who did what. Harrison had to fight for it, but he eventually got additional writing credit on two really key tracks.
Which ones?
The Overload and Houses in Motion alongside Bird and Eno.
The Overload especially. That's such a dense, almost unsettling track, all texture and rhythm.
Yeah.
So what does that dispute tell us about his role? It wasn't just playing keys, clearly.
No way. It suggests he was deeply involved structurally, defining the composition, the whole atmosphere of those tracks. Remain in Light is just, it's the peak of synthesis in New Wave, right? All those West African rhythms, the funk influences. Harrison, with his understanding of arranging sounds in space, layering textures, he was perfectly suited to help orchestrate that complexity. He was like the essential bridge between Byrne's vision and Eno's experiments.
Yeah.
Organizing the chaos, basically, giving it structure.
The band officially calls it quits in '91 after David Byrne announces he's leaving, which then frees Harrison up to really dive into his other interests, starting with his solo career. And right away, you see that intellectual political side is still firing.
Oh, yeah. His first solo album, The Red and the Black, in '81. It's a prime example of using pop music to explore some pretty dense ideas. The title itself caused confusion.
Everyone assumes Stendhal's novel, right?
Right, the classic 19th century novel. But the real story is way more specific, more underground.
What was it?
Harrison explained years later, 2021 actually, that it was inspired by a situationist group, specifically a pamphlet by Guy Debord. He'd met some situationists back at Harvard during anti-war protests. They ended up crashing in his room, talking philosophy, anarchism.
Wow. So his first big solo statement is basically translating situationist theory, communism, anarchism into songs. Not exactly aiming for top 40.
Not at all. He was aiming to make people think. It's that same principle again, translating complex ideas into a structure, in this case, rhythmic structure. And that commitment to political commentary really blew up 3 years later, 1984, with 5 Minutes, Bonzo Goes to Washington.
That track is legendary for its sampling. Where did that Reagan audio actually come from?
It was pure accident, really. An off-air hot mic moment during a sound check. President Reagan joking about outlawing Russia and starting bombing.
The infamous, "We begin bombing in 5 minutes" line. Chilling, even as a joke back then.
Totally chilling. And Harrison heard that recording and immediately got its significance. He tracked down the tape apparently through a college radio station and built this amazing funk track around it. Got Daniel Lazarus to co-produce and brought in the one and only Bootsy Collins on bass.
Incredible lineup, but the song itself was sharp, right? The challenge was getting it out there.
Exactly. Its entire point was tied to the 1984 presidential election. It had to be released before the vote to mean anything.
And major labels wouldn't touch it. Too political, too fast.
No way. Too risky, timetable was too tight. So Harrison takes this huge gamble. He releases it on a tiny indie label, Sleeping Bag Records, in October '84, just weeks before the election. A really radical, independent move.
And classic Harrison humor later, joking about sharing royalties with his lyricist, Ronald Reagan.
That perfect blend of serious politics and detached wit. Yeah.
Which brings us to his biggest solo hit, Casual Gods, in 1988. And the recording story behind this one is pretty unique too, isn't it? The location.
Oh, the location for Casual Gods is amazing. Recorded back in Milwaukee, his best friend's brother had set up a studio inside a converted bomb shelter.
A bomb shelter studio. You couldn't write that. It almost feels like a metaphor for his music, you know?
Like
structured art in a kind of paranoid space.
It definitely adds a certain vibe. And the personal situation was intense, too. He was recording at night, but spending his days taking care of his sick mother. So it wasn't some rock star indulgence. It was really focused, personal work.
And he pulled in collaborators from his past, too.
He did. Co-wrote a lot of the songs with Ernie Brooks, his old bandmate from the Modern Lovers.
The guy who helped him move the furniture?
The very same guy.
Yeah.
That continuity is pretty cool. And the album clicked commercially. Big time.
Rev It Up was everywhere for a while.
Huge hit. Number 7 on the U.S. mainstream charts, April '88. And the stories around it are just memorable. Like, apparently, the music video for Rev It Up involved filming in a room just packed with babies.
Babies. Okay, that's unexpected.
From situationist theory and nuclear satire to a room full of infants and a funk rock chart hit, that's definitely range.
Casual Gods also showed his knack for music that worked well in films.
Yeah, Man with a Gun was in Two Moon Junction in '88. But an instrumental version was actually used even earlier in 1986 in Jonathan Demme's movie Something Wild.
Interesting.
Shows the strength of the composition, right? Works with or without lyrics. And that single did well internationally too, Australia and New Zealand.
And the success meant a proper tour in '88. And the band he put together was kind of a dream team, reflecting that whole punk-funk new wave mix.
Oh, the band was killer. Super adaptable. Ernie Brooks on bass again, Alex Weir and Chris Spedding on guitars, and the phenomenal Bernie Worrell on keyboards from Parliament Funkadelic. And of course, he'd toured with Talking Heads too.
Wow.
And look at the covers they played. Roadrunner, She Cracked from the Modern Lovers.
Right.
Life During Wartime from Talking Heads, and even T-Rex's Children of the Revolution. It was like his entire musical history is synthesized on stage.
His last solo album, Walk on Water, came out in 1990. But after Talking Heads officially split in '91, he makes this final, maybe most lasting career shift. The producer powerhouse, and then the entrepreneur.
And this is where that VES foundation really comes into its own commercially. Because what is production, really? It's organizing chaos into something cohesive, something that sells. He'd already done some producing, you know, Elliot Murphy, Violent Femmes, The Blind, Leading the Naked back in '86.
But the '90s.
Yeah.
That's when he just explodes as a producer. He becomes almost the go-to guy for that whole alt-rock boom. The credits list is just staggering in its variety.
He was the ultimate sonic shapeshifter. Think about the band live. He was absolutely central to their huge success. Produced Mental Jewelry, then The Massive Throwing Copper, The Distance to Here.
Huge albums.
Huge. But then also Crash Test Dummies, God Shuffled His Feet, The Verve Pipe, Villains, even No Doubt, helping them find their sound for Return of Saturn around 2000.
That's such a diverse set of bands. Why him? Why was Jerry Harrison, the guy known for new wave synths, the right fit for all these 90s alt-rock bands?
That's a great question. I think it's because 90s alt-rock, unlike maybe 70s classic rock, wasn't always built on traditional song structures. It was often about texture, atmosphere, weird instrumentation,
Okay.
which is exactly Harrison's strength. His new wave background meant he understood synthesizers, space, layering, maybe better than many rock producers. Bands hired him to bring clarity, structure, and that atmospheric depth to their sound. He could hear the core potential in a band like Live or, say, Rusted Root, and then build the perfect sonic environment around it, maximize the impact emotionally and commercially.
And he wasn't just doing alt-rock. The list includes General Public, String Cheese Incident, Big Head Todd, Kenny Wayne Shepherd. He really could handle almost any texture.
He mastered it. But what's truly mind-blowing is that while he's building this huge production career, he makes another massive pivot into the digital world and then finance, moving from curating sound to, well, curating capital.
1999, co-founds GarageBand.com. This wasn't just some website, right? This was early, pioneering music tech.
Absolutely pioneering. GarageBand.com was radical, not just a place to upload songs. It was set up as this competitive online community. It used peer reviews, a structured rating system. Basically a digital version of the old A&R process.
Crowdsourcing talent scouting.
Kind of, yeah. He was chairman of the board. He used his industry knowledge to build a platform that filtered and judged new music. It was his producer brain, finding quality, providing structure, curating applied to the internet, a system for synthesizing musical capital.
Okay, so producer to tech chairman is already a big leap. But then the next move into healthcare finance, that seems like the biggest jump yet.
Right. As of 2015, his founder and chairman of Red Crow. Totally different field, but look closer. The core skills are identical. Red Crow is a web platform for direct investment. It connects money financial capital with people and ideas, human capital, specifically in healthcare startups.
Okay, break that down. How does producing, say, throwing copper, relate to picking winning biotech startups?
It's all curation and synthesis. Think about producing. Harrison listens to hours of raw music, identifies the best bits, cuts the noise, structures it into a hit.
Right.
Red Crow does the same thing, but with healthcare innovation. They sift through hundreds of startup pitches, identify the best talent and the most viable tech, the human capital. They cut through the noise, the non-starters. Then they structure the investment, needed the financial capital to make it happen. He's facilitating the successful composition of a healthcare company.
So applying the same structural thinking from VES and music production to medicine and finance.
Exactly. Red Crow is described as a community sharing knowledge and passion for healthcare innovation. It's synthesis in maybe the highest stakes field there is, human health.
It really is an incredible intellectual journey. Same skill set, refined at Harvard, perfected in the studio, now applied to totally different markets. We should probably mention, though, he hasn't completely left the old world behind.
No, definitely not. There was a partial reunion project in '96, No Talking Just Head. That was Harrison, Weymouth, and France with guest singers, but no Byrne.
And he popped up in a few films, too, keeping those visual arts connections alive.
Yeah, obviously he's all over Stop Making Sense, the '84 concert film, which is iconic. But later, he did cameos in David Byrne's film True Stories in '86.
Right, as the lip-cinching lookalikes.
Yeah. Billy Idol, Kid Creole, Prince, just quick, funny moments. She has a good sense of humor about image. And way later, 2006, he had a tiny part in the Darwin Awards as just guy in bar number 1.
Ultimate anonymity.
Pretty much.
And the final piece, really bringing it full circle, is his return to performing live recently.
Yeah, after decades focused mostly on production and business, he got back on stage. In 2021, first time publicly performing since that '96 tour, he joined the band Turquoise and Adrian Belew, another key Talking Heads collaborator, for shows celebrating the 40th anniversary of Remain in Light. It just shows, his focus might be elsewhere professionally now, but that core joy of making music, of synthesis, it's still there.
So, summing it all up, we've tracked this truly unique path. High art student obsessed with structure, punk musician, new wave sonic architect,
Right.
then hit producer, digital music pioneer, and now healthcare tech investor.
The common thread, it's not the instrument or the company. It's that incredible ability, honed way back in VES, to synthesize, to take diverse, sometimes messy information and talent and shape it into something structured, something valuable. He applies compositional thinking structure, rhythm, organization everywhere. Music, politics, tech, finance. He didn't just change with the times. He curated his own evolution.
He's like the ultimate example of transferable skills.
Which Which leads to a final thought maybe for you listening. If that core skill is synthesis and curation, taking disparate parts, organizing them for value, how does that apply to the noise, the information overload you deal with every day? Where, in your world, could you apply that VES idea of bringing structure and composition to something that really needs organizing? That, I think, is the real lesson from Jerry Harrison's deep dive.